Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Prisma, also known as Gemverse. Guys, this is the longest video, not the longest video I've ever uploaded, but the longest speed build possibly ever uploaded in the history of speed builds ever, which is probably not true, to be honest. I'm sure there are speed builds that have been longer than this, but as of right now, the total runtime is 55 minutes. And that is an insane amount of time for a speed build. At least by my standards. I don't know. Is that normal to you guys? I feel like it's not. I feel like speed builds are like 20, 30 minutes. But that's okay. We're not going to focus on that. What we are going to focus on is the fact that I cannot stop thinking about Superman. Guys, you don't get it. I love Superman so much. And I'm not just saying this because of the Superman movie that came out, even though that certainly is a contributing factor. I love Superman. I've loved Superman for a long time. The movie was great, by the way. I absolutely adore it so much. Please re-release the Steelbook. I need to get it. Thank you. But anyways, I have been rewatching Smallville for I don't even know what number of, I can't even talk because I'm so excited. I've been rewatching Smallville with my sister. This is probably like the second or third time that I've rewatched it within the past like 2 years. I think it's the second actually, because I rewatched it last year in December, I think. But I love Smallville so much. I really do. I grew up with like in the era of Smallville. I didn't grow up watching it because I was quite young when it was running, but I did get there eventually because it ran until like, I don't know, 2011, and by that point I was old enough to watch TV, so I did catch some of it. But I just love it. I love it so much. And if any of you grew up watching that show or have gotten into it or are a Superman fan, you know how insane that specific show is. I love it so much for that reason. It's very much a CW show. That's all I can say if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it and you are interested in seeing Superman, maybe you saw the movie and you want to see more, please watch Smallville. It is literally so funny and it's dramatic and it's just perfect. I love it so much. But this build is very much reflective of everything that I just talked about. I have been very Superman pilled, if you will. I'm in the mood for Superman. I rewatched Superman like 6 times at this point. Smallville, of course, I just told you I'm rewatching it with my sister. We just started rewatching the 1978 version as well with Christopher Reeve. Absolutely insane movie, by the way. I love it so much. Just an amazing character. But the Smallville house that the Kents live in, it's more like a farm, lives in my mind rent-free. I love that house so much, and if you're looking at the build right now and you've seen the show, you can probably tell where I've been influenced, and if you haven't, you'll probably catch some Easter eggs in there anyways. If you know anything about Superman, I feel like the basics are pretty much in everyone's minds. Obviously, you don't, I'm not saying you have to know it, but you might catch some things in here. So look out for that and comment if you see any of them that I don't mention, because I did put quite a few in here. I tried to just like include things that both reminded me of the character in the show and its characters, and also like references to things, because I love doing that when I'm doing a build themed off of something. And this was very much themed off of something. If you're looking at the barn right now and you see that like window, the open window above the barn door, you already know what's going on, okay? You know. And I did end up doing the same kind of thing. I made a loft in the barn. In the show Smallville, the loft is quote-unquote Clark's fortress of solitude for the first couple of seasons. And he spends like 90% of his time up there. You literally do not see him in his bedroom, like, at all, pretty much, unless you get like a random scene thrown in there where he happens to be sleeping or waking up or doing something, I don't know. But most of the time he spends his time in his loft. And it's very much like a teenage boy, farm boy, geek hangout place, if you will. It, in the show, has like hay bales and a bunch of other stuff and just like a couch and things you would want in your hangout space as a teenager. In this version, in my version of this, it's a little bit different. It's not as like weird. It's just one big square, and I put down a few things that I feel like I would put in there if I was Clark Kent. So I put in a bed. I don't think he has a bed in it in the show at all, I'm pretty sure. I think he just has a couch and some chairs. So I put in a bed. I put in a couch. I put in some beanbag chairs. I put in like a tire ottoman, a bunch of stereo systems. In the show, if you've seen it, you know that Clark does not have a bunch of stereo systems, but there is one episode where he happens to acquire a bunch of things in a very strange way. So I just kind of put that in there because I thought it was funny. And also, who wouldn't want to have like 6 stereo systems in their bedroom? Or not their bedroom, but in their space as a teenager. So that's in there. There's books. There's posters. I put a Sims house party poster up there because it was just of the times, I think. I also put in a few cardboard cutouts. And you'll notice that that's one of the references I put in. It's not an actual reference because the cardboard cutout that I put in is not technically Superman. I think it's just like some random character that The Sims 3 created for university, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because I think that cardboard cutout is from the conversion set from that specific expansion pack. So that's just a random character. But it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, there was definitely Superman influence in that. So that's in there. There's like random other cutouts. I put in lava lamps. I put in, there's like a little hidden comic somewhere. The one big thing, if you have seen Smallville and you know what's in his loft, you don't even have to watch the entire show. You get in like the first episode, you already know that he has this telescope like pointed directly out of the barn window, and he uses it a lot. Like, he's constantly looking through it at different things, mainly one thing. And that's in this version too, in my version, because I just couldn't not put it in there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It needed to be in there. So I put that in there. I think later on in the barn, I do end up putting down a phone booth as well. If you know anything about Superman, you'll know that he changes into a suit in a phone booth in some iterations. And I just thought it was funny. My sister came in at one point when I was building this. I said, "What do you think of my barn?" And she said, "Why is there a phone booth in there?" And she got that it was a reference, thankfully. But it was just funny because in reality, you wouldn't have a phone booth in your barn, especially if you're just like a farmer. Why would you have a phone booth? You wouldn't. But I don't know. I just wanted to put it in there. I think it's kind of cool. Like, maybe whoever lives here just happened to acquire this phone booth, and maybe their son happens to be a superhero. I don't know. The rest of the house is not as big as I thought it was going to turn out. I didn't 100% model the house after their house in Smallville. It was just kind of a loose interpretation of it. So it is very much the same color. It's a yellow house. And it's got the same kind of front porch area, but that's about it. The shapes on the inside are not the same. I loosely used like the stair placement and the kitchen kind of, but also not really, because it ended up being like way smaller than I thought it was going to be, and it's not as open as I expected it to be, but that's okay. You'll see that I changed the kitchen layout eventually, like midway through, because I just didn't like how it was looking. I tried to model it after the show for like 5 minutes, because in the show they have a front door. It's actually really weird because their oven is like not connected to a wall. It's like off of a different wall, like kind of just floating. It's like a floating oven basically. And they have like floating cabinets above it. And I tried to do that, but it just wasn't working, especially with how small the space was. So I ended up changing it, and I think it looks fine. It's fine. I still use the floating cabinets. I think the floating stove actually made it in, but I did have to change a few of the other things around. And then there was this really like odd shaped window area. You'll see it's basically just a bay window area, but I couldn't figure out how to make it work at first in that kitchen because I wanted to put counters there. I wanted to use as much counter space as I could. Obviously I couldn't because I didn't end up doing it, but I did put a bay window in. I think it's from Cats and Dogs, if I'm not mistaken. And I had no idea what I was doing, but it worked out in the end. I think it looks quite cute. And now they have extra seating space if you happen to want to put a table there or something. So that's really cute. The living room, pretty cluttered. Everything is cluttered. I took a long time on this build mainly because it was cluttered. I don't know why it took me so long, to be honest, because usually builds don't take me like 4 hours. Well, sometimes they do, but you know what I mean. I can usually speed it up, especially with if I'm not doing like an in-depth build for a family where I feel like I have to spend a long time on it. I can usually just get it out. But I didn't for this one because, I don't know, it meant a lot to me, so I was just really putting everything into it. We ended up with 2 bedrooms, if you don't count the loft. So it's technically a 2-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms. Actually, no, it's a 3-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms and an office. The office you could potentially turn into a bedroom, but I didn't put a door on it, so that's why I'm not counting it as one. So there's a guest bedroom downstairs. It's small, but it's a guest bedroom, like you don't need anything crazy. And then upstairs, obviously, you have the parents' bedroom, and then you have the son's bedroom. I'm going to say son because that's just what I had in mind. Obviously, I'm basing this off of the Kent family, so in my mind, there was a mother, a father, and one teenage boy living in this house. And you can definitely tell that I leaned into that whole concept because the parents' room is not as detailed as their son's. It is, you know, it's not like plain, but it is definitely not as busy. It's not as busy. So I ended up throwing posters everywhere I could in the son's room. I put in, what did I put in? I put a lot of space-themed stuff in, because, again, with the telescope thing in the loft, I just wanted to bring as much, like, outer space, like, there's life out there. I wanted to put that into this build, and I think I did pretty well. So he has space sheets. He has a lot of childhood toys. He's got some robots, lots of robots. If you've seen the movie that came out this year, Superman 2025, go watch it. You'll know why I put some robots in there. He's got his little old computer, his CDs, his boombox. I think I put in an alien poster somewhere. Just a lot of stuff that I feel like you would see in a little boy's room. And I know that I said it was a teenage boy living here. And it is. And I also said that he's probably spending like 90% of his time in the loft in the barn. So I don't imagine that he'd be in any rush to redecorate his childhood bedroom, especially because I don't see the people living here as very high income. So they don't just have the money to redecorate willy-nilly. And that's why I kind of left his room looking like it's maybe stuck in, I don't even know, like, like years back. Maybe he hasn't redone his room or bought anything to, you know, spice his room up since he was like 6. He's just putting all that effort into the loft. So, yeah, it's just very cute. I love it so much. I really do. It looks like a little boy could live there, but in reality, it's just a nerd teenager. I obviously am building this house on a small lot as well, so I couldn't include everything I wanted to. There's a grain silo, which I think is really cool that I was even able to fit in there. I didn't think I was originally going to be able to, but I made it work. And then I wanted to put in a place for the horses or livestock. I didn't end up getting to do that because it was just too much. So I'm very lucky that I was able to pick a lot that had the, what is it called? Like just like a, it's not a stable. It's like a horse training ground is what I'm going to call it, I guess. I forget what it's called. But there's one of them next to the lot that I picked. So you get like this really big open land for your horse to run around, and it's like gated slightly. So if you count it, which I am, it's an extension of the house, and that's where you're keeping your animals. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win. All in all, I really, really love how this build came out. I really do. I don't even know what to say. It came out way better than I thought it was going to. My building skills are getting better, guys. They really are. And I find that it is very important to me. Honestly, just looking at it is making me nostalgic and sad in a way, but it's also making me very happy that I was even able to build something like this and have it reflect one of my favorite things. So that's very, very nice. I don't know. I can't say, I don't have any other words. I don't know. But that's about it from me. There's a lot of this video left. I can't talk through the whole thing, obviously, because 55 minutes of me talking about this house would just be 55 minutes of me gushing over Superman. And I'm not gonna, you know, force you to listen to that. So thank you for listening to however long it's been that I've been talking. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the rest of it. I had a great time making this house, and I had a great time decorating it. If you guys want this lot up for download, I can totally do that. It might take me a little bit to get the files and everything ready. I'm not the quickest with uploading builds like this, especially because there's so much custom content, but I can do it. Trust me, I will do it if you guys want it. Let me know your thoughts. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I love you all so very much. A lot, a lot, a lot. And I will see you all in another video soon.